So call to order, invocation. Dan, would you?
Sure.
Thank you.
Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day, and thank you, Lord, for all that you do for us and take care of us. We ask you to be with our mayor and council here tonight and give them, Lord, the wisdom they need, the boldness, Lord, and the courage, Lord, to make the decisions that face our community. We ask you, Lord, to be with all those that are protecting our country right now. Father, let them know that we're thinking of them and witness your time. In Christ's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor? Unanimous 4. Do we have any citizens' comments? Public hearing. It's my understanding that that these might be tabled until the planning and zoning covers these. Do I have anyone here for a public hearing? Would it please the council to make a motion to table these?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we table the public hearing listed on our agenda as item number A. And since you made the announcement, I'll also add that we make the same for item number B.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous 4. Stormwater proposal for Whittemore Street. Dan?
Yes, sir. In the work session, we handed out a draft of a letter. One of the questions that we had was on where driveway was receiving some stormwater during real high flash flooding type events. I think the best thing would do is to put a concrete curb at the road that would act like an apron, just like a speed hump, where we'd actually dig up about a 12-inch or 18-inch area and then spread that concrete hump over that amount so that it'll be a little bit smoother, just to protect that driveway from having stormwater come down the road. And then we'll get with the property owner because they have a swell that is actually starting to pool up in front of their garage door, and if they would clean the exit end of that swell, then it should really help them during those events.
Okay, so do you just need a motion to put in that what you were talking about and to send the letter?
Yes, sir,
to the
please.
property owner? If I can get a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to approve to add concrete on the curb and move forward.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous 4. Facebook Live for the meetings. We talked about this in work session. I don't believe we have support now to move forward on it, but we are looking to get information as far as, well, I guess archiving what our responsibilities would be if we were to post this to our official city Facebook page or something like that, and we just don't have all those answers yet. If anybody would like to say anything about it, I don't think that we're ready to move forward at this point.
I move
Mr. Mayor, I do have one quick comment. I think from our work session, the issue that we have to consider and what is very important in the state of Georgia is the compliance with the Georgia Open Records Act. And I think that we have a lot of questions on exactly what that compliance responsibilities will be if we are served with a notice to make sure that we are in compliance with the Open Records Act. So going forward, I think that is one of the most important things that we need clarification on.
Yeah, and we are seeking feedback on that actively at this point. So yes.
So Mr. Mayor.
We don't necessarily need a motion.
We don't need a motion to table this. Okay.
I don't think so. If we don't have a specific time, we know we're going to have the. Okay. Item C, City of Ringgold Resolution adopting Catoosa County hazard mitigation plans. Doug did speak with us at length in our work session about our county hazard mitigation plan, and a lot of hard work by a lot of people going into this plan to try to make sure that we can do what we need to do in the event of a variety of hazardous situations that could come about. I do need a motion to approve adopting the resolution for the Catoosa County Hazard Mitigation Plan. If I could get a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a quick comment. I think in our work session, Mr. Fleury was very informative. He did explain that they've gone through about 10 revisions to get this mitigation plan to where we are today. A lot of people were involved in this, so I just wanted to commend Mr. Fleury in the way he presented it to us.
And Mr. Mayor,
Please, sir.
I also want to commend all of our staff who played a role in bringing this together. It was a several-month period to bring this project to fruition, and working together with our sister city, Fort Oglethorpe and Catoosa County and surrounding jurisdictions, having input as well. So, big project. Thanks to EMA for making it possible.
That's right. A lot of good conversations, a lot of good planning about dealing with things that go on in the future, because my goodness, we learned some stuff from the tornado, and so it was nice to hear that he had put some of those things into place to address some of those concerns that came up for us.
You know, I think it's nice that people see this and realize how much work they put several months into this. They brought stuff back from several years back to study this. And this shows that what we do is not a one-person job. It has to be a team effort. And this has been done with all of them and all in good faith. I'm very pleased with it.
I have a motion and second. All in favor? Unanimous board. Final reading for our proposed amendment to the sign ordinance. Can I get a...
Millage rate.
Oh, millage rate. Oh, mine is set down below that.
D.
Oh, I got one of the copies from out front, and it's item F there. So, but we can handle that now. That's good. The 2017 tax millage rate. Can I get a motion to approve that? And that rate was, it was a rollback. What was?
It's a rollback, 1.30%.
Right, a rollback of 1.3%.
Yes.
Move we do so.
Okay, I have a motion to that
Second.
effect and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous board.
Now you go to the,
Okay, so the final reading for the signed ordinance. Can I get a motion to approve the final reading?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous board. And the final reading for the proposed amendments to section 9.4 of the zoning ordinance. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous board. Item A, we talked about a little bit in our work session. This was to add city employees to those that can use the recycle center. And we did have a conversation about this being a one-year pilot program, and we're trying to see how much tonnage we're taking and how much it may take out of our actual tonnage that we're taking to the landfill. And so I believe that it's our plan at this point to wait until that one-year period is up so that we can get the most accurate information that we can, and perhaps address this again at that time.
Mr. Mayor, that since I put this on the agenda, I will move that we delay any action on that request until that point, maybe the month after we make the final decision what to do with the recycling program.
Sure.
We'll come back and look at it.
Sure.
So, make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous board. Land and Water Conservation Fund, the 2017-18 grant cycle. Dan?
Yes, sir. I think we discussed it somewhat at the last work session last week. The deadline is October the 31st of this year. It is a 50% match. The maximum amount is a $200,000 project, so the city and/or its partners would have to come up with $100,000, and then, of course, the grant would be $100,000. The lowest project, or the minimum amount, is a $50,000 project, where it'd be a $25,000 match between the city and its partners, and then $25,000 from the state. Be glad to answer any questions. We're getting to, I guess, that point where we're going to need some direction on, where would you, if you would like to apply, and if so, which projects you want to apply.
Mr. Mayor,
Please, sir.
I think in our discussion, if I could combine Land and Water Conservation Fund B, those grants, with our recreational trail grant opportunities, the match was not as great for us in the recreational trails program. We would only have to put in 20%. And I think in our discussion, we kind of said this was maybe doable, more doable as a grant application for our budget, as opposed to the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which would require a 50% match. I think that was more of our discussion. I mean, maybe we don't want to do either one, maybe we want to do both just to see what happens. But I really, realistically, I am more in favor of the recreational trail program, because it still amounts from $100,000 to $200,000, but requires only a 20% local match.
Mr. Mayor,
Please, Randall.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone additional discussion of this until after executive session regarding both B and C, because we've got to specify some of the properties that we might be looking at in these grants, and that needs to be handled in executive session. So let's just postpone B and C below our executive session.
I have a motion to postpone until after executive session.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate, Randall. Thank you. So any questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous 4. Pit launch horizontal drill, Dan?
Yes, sir. I think everybody probably read over the packet that Mark provided for us on page 87 of the agenda pack, and his recommendation, I think, was very clear. The issue that we have is going, of course, underneath roads, and it's got so expensive in order to cut the roads. I know this machine is somewhat expensive, but if you read through Mark's terminology here, I think we could save that much money very, very quickly. Plus, if you receive any complaints from subdivisions where we go through and we run sewer, and one of those complaints is, well, the asphalt doesn't match. Well, it's really hard to make the asphalt match when, the asphalt might be 10 years old or 15 years old. Of course, it'll blend in, and then, of course, you'll always get some type of settling over a period of time. But we would recommend that we go ahead and move forward and purchase that, and that would come out of the fund balance of our sewer fund in order to make that purchase. And I believe you'll find great use for it over the years. And Mark and I propose, when we go through subdivisions in the future, by being able to put this boring machine in a shorter distance, we'll just wait until someone pays to hook on and then do that bore, instead of making every one of those laterals through these subdivisions. And, because it costs several $1,000s for each lateral, and then they may never tie on.
Right. Okay, do I have a motion to approve that purchase from our sewer fund?
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of the pit launched horizontal drill.
I will second that, but I've got a question.
Please, Chair.
Does that bid cover all the accessories that you feel like we need right now?
Yes, sir. And that's the Vermeer 10H, and of course you see how he does not feel that we need the hydraulic pack. We have several that we can use already. or the locating system, bringing it down to $58,763. And we also have, I believe, a Burma representative here. If y'all would have any questions or that you want to ask him about the actual machine. And I believe we've got a Burma 20-inch that we use, but it's, you know, it's a very large machine, and the laying distance of it, you know, you wouldn't be able to put it in the right of way. Each time you use that machine, you have to go out and get an easement, and you're up usually in somebody's yard.
Because of the size?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's about a 20-foot laying track.
I'll call for the
Okay,
question.
I've got a motion and second. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have one question for
Please.
the city manager.
Sure.
Did I understand you to say that there is a representative here from Vermer?
Yes, sir. I see him in the back right there.
Okay, before we get to him, I just want to put one thing on the record with a comment. If I look at this, the letter that we have from Mark Vaughn, and I want to make sure I understand this right, Mr. City Manager, it looks like, based on previous history, it cost the city about a little over $3,000 when we cut the road, and I know we have had a number of projects involving that, and the total cost without the accessories for this is $58,763. Now my question is similar to Mr. Crawford. I know that Mr. Vaughn is writing a letter recommending that we can probably do without the accessories. I'd like to hear from the Vermer representative specifically about the hydraulic pack and its uses and maybe the locating system so that we make a good decision on exactly what the city needs.
All right, my name's David.
You can just come to them.
Didn't want to put
And
you
our
on the spot.
procedures are just name and address whenever you
Name
speak.
and address?
Yes.
All right, my name's David from Marietta, Georgia. That's where we're located out of. You raise a good point. I talked a lot with Mark. Now, the power pack is an accessory that you necessarily do not need, and I recommend not getting that. Your guys' mini excavators have enough hydraulic flow to operate the machine. One thing we highly recommend is the locating system. Once you're boring underground, it's very hard to know where you're going without a locating system. Now, within,
Tell us how that works,
so a
the
locating
locating
system,
system.
it's a falcon, so you have on the end of your rod, you have a zon inside, a locating beacon. And when it's going underground, you have you have a box basically that you follow up top, so you know the pitch of which way it's going, up, down, left, and right. So that's how horizontal bores are done. Where if you don't have that system, you could be going to the left and you think you're going straight, or you could be going down and you think you're going up, you know. So that's something. Now within that 53,000 or that
58.
$58,000, that does include all of the other accessories as far as your bits and your tooling to operate the drill. And it also includes full-time access to we have 2 underground specialists that are available all the time for any of help. And basically we give a 2-day training, and then after that 2 days, you basically own us after that. We will help with anything else you guys need. So.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I have
Sure.
one more question, I guess, for the city manager. Based on that, with the subject matter expert here, Dan, I guess my next question would be, with the $14,000 expenditure, I guess, what are we losing? What are we, I don't want to put you on the spot, but should we, I guess, consider making that additional if it's that important, from what we hear from the person that knows exactly what that entails?
Well, and I asked the same thing, you know, to Mark, and his response to me was, you know, we do well over 100-foot bores with the other with no locate on the end of it. These will more than likely be 30, 40-foot bores, and you know, you're talking about spending $15,000. If we get to the other side and we're not where we need to be, then we'll pull out. I mean, you know, if it's water, it really doesn't matter as long as you come out on the other side. If it's sewer, obviously you got to have fall.
Is this something that we could come back and add later if we saw that it was an issue?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll just make one statement. With the current machine that you guys have, it's for doing bigger case bores. You have a 20-foot section, so when you're doing 100 feet, you're going 20 foot at a time. With this one, it's 10-foot rods, so you're only going 10 feet at a time. So it's a lot harder to steer than, because you're putting each rod in individually. So saying that, you can get away with it, but it makes life a lot harder. Yes, you can get it anytime after.
Okay.
Is 10 foot?
I'm pretty sure it's 10. What's on the bid, sorry. I deal with a bunch of them every day, so.
But I think that's important, Mr. Mayor, to know that we can come back later and purchase it if we see the need for it, based on what Mark and the crew runs into.
Sure, sure.
Well, if we're talking about a 10-foot length, then that's not gonna accomplish what we need anyway, so.
Well,
We
it
might need to just
goes
pay.
up to, the bid, sorry, I probably confused everything right there. The bid is for up to, I think we bid, I don't have the bid on top of my head right now, but we bid a certain amount of rods. It's like 200 feet of rods.
Oh, okay.
It's 10-foot sections.
Right, 10-foot
Yeah,
section.
just in
But-
sections.
But we're not, I don't need something that's gonna take 10 foot of length to lay for the pit.
No, I think what we bid was, what we bid was correct for Mark's speculations and everything. I think I messed it up.
It's okay.
Dude, now you have here,
Could we delay this and let me review this, because I don't want to spend $60,000 on
Good.
something that's not going to do what we need to
Would a
do.
5-minute
Would
recess?
a 5-minute recess do the job?
Be fine?
Okay, I'll make a motion, we take a 5-minute recess, Mayor.
Okay, can I get I've got a motion and second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Unanimous for?
Now, you two could go over there and talk about it.
Like stretch your legs now.
It should be.
I had a motion and second. I need a motion to come back into session. Can I get a motion to that effect? Motion and second. All in favor? Unanimous for. We did have a motion to approve the bid. Sorry, go ahead.
Nikki, you did the motion second to come back in.
I done the motion.
I did the
Yeah,
second.
Jake and Terry.
Thank you.
And we do have a motion to accept the bid. And we did have a conversation about potentially adding that locator. I would be welcome to, including that in the original motion. I'm not sure who made
I'd
the.
like to amend the original motion if we can. With conversation that I've overheard over here, we feel that we probably do need that locator on there, and I'd like to see it included with it.
Okay, I have a motion to amend. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous for to amend the original motion. Now I need to take a vote on the original motion.
So are we
Do it, please.
clear?
Yes, ma'am, it was a 5 foot, not 10 foot. So that's what we were wanting.
Okay.
Okay, can I
Any
make
other
a
question? Please,
comment,
Larry.
just
Yes,
for the
please.
record, for clarification only, since I asked all these questions, the motion entails that we're gonna pay for this out of the sewer fund for the $58,763, and then we're gonna add the locating system for another $14,989. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have a motion and second. All in favor? Unanimous for? Thanks, Terry. It's been a while since we've amended a motion. And item E, first reading of ordinance to amend chapter 38, caption environment. Dan?
Yes, sir, this would be the second and final reading of this particular ordinance. I think we spent some good time on it at the last meeting. Would anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Thank you for coming.
Oh, I'm sorry, did we?
I missed that.
I missed that.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we've had a
I don't think
conversation.
we've had any discussion on this.
Yeah, this is the second.
This is the first reading.
First reading. Unless it was in the meeting that we didn't
No,
have.
it was the previous meeting in August, right?
It was the second reading of the sign ordinance and the,
And the item number,
yeah, the other two, this one's in.
Is this the first reading?
This is the first
It
reading.
says first reading on the agenda.
Mine says final reading.
Item E? Mine says first.
Yeah, and
I
I,
just don't remember
and I
us
don't believe we have
discussing it.
spoken
Are
about
you on
it.
E on page 2, Dan?
Mhm.
That's a typo, because mine says first also.
Yeah, and I don't remember reading this before. Locally.
You just taking a moment to check, right?
Well, yes, otherwise we'd be doing a public hearing.
If it's a first reading, yeah.
Right, sure. And
I'm going back to that August meeting right now. Okay, August the 28th, it's been a while, and motion made by Terry Crawford, seconded by Randall Franks to approve the first reading of the proposed amendments to the sign ordinance.
No, this isn't the sign ordinance.
we're on the environment.
This is the environment, captioned,
Flip the page and,
amend chapter
Are
38,
you
captioned
in new
environment.
business?
yes, or no, yes,
Yes,
new business.
Item E,
new business.
you know, Dan.
Turn the page.
Here it is.
Turn the page.
Y'all already gone through that,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I'm sorry, guys. I want to back up to old business.
I got it good now. Boy, that's wrong.
We got him mixed.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the first
Well-
reading for the,
Yes,
sorry.
I
forgive me.
got some questions.
Forgive me. This is the first reading, and I do apologize. The state, from periodically, when we go through our stormwater review each year, Greg and
Okay.
myself, we met with Mildred, and she come up and went through the process. And one thing that she noticed was our soil erosion ordinance needed to be updated by the one that the state had put out. It's pretty much, they send it down and we adopt it. If we want to continue to be the local issuing authority, meaning that we issue soil erosion plans here, rather than people having to carry them to Atlanta and have them approved there, or one of their branches. So it's really a form of convenience for our builders, our developers, our engineers, our architects that have to, and land surveyors, anybody that's in that field of development, so that they can come to your local office. And you might say, well, why does our ordinance have to meet their ordinance? Here's the reason. When we receive those soil and erosion plans, Greg accepts them as the local issuing authority, and then a state employee comes and does a technical review on our behalf. So if everybody's ordinance isn't the same, then they have different rules for every jurisdiction. Obviously, they can't have that. So that's why we have to keep updating this particular ordinance. This is probably the 7th or 8th time that we've had to redo this ordinance. So I'll try my best to answer any questions.
Sure, and I know that Sarah has a question, but can I get a motion to approve, and
Motion to approve the first reading.
can I get a second?
Second, but
Okay.
also
Sure.
have a question. So basically, I guess to recap, Dan, what you're saying, ours needs to mirror the state's.
That's correct.
To be a
That's correct.
local issuing
Sure,
authority.
to be enforceable. Sure.
That's correct.
Dan, I do have questions on page 107 in my packet. You've got the exemptions, and I know when we went through this at the state, there was really a lot of discussion about linear and you and I kind of mentioned that before,
Yes, ma'am.
about linear land disturbing activities. And I'm looking at what's going to be happening with our road with DOT and all of that land disturbing activity that's going on right at the creek. I know they're exempt, but I think they will be over, what is it, 1 acre, more than 1 acre of continuous, one or more contiguous acres of land.
Yes.
Who's going to oversee that? Because nobody from the state's going to be up here. I mean, is somebody going to oversee? There can be things like, trucks coming out of there if we ever have any more rain, mud all over the road, that goes in the streams. It can be just not properly shoring up, putting some kind of say that again. Rick-rack, so that you don't have all that mud going down into our creek. I mean, they're exempt, but they can't totally be exempt from tell me the process for that, because I'm very concerned because of where they're going to start that project and how big it is.
Well, the same way that we are, Greg and I have had this discussion. You remember when the college was built, and we were told right off the bat that, they were exempt and they did not answer to the city, and that's fine. With the DOT, luckily, they usually have at least one inspector on the site at all times. That's their goal. And with a job of this size, I wouldn't doubt that they'd have more than one. If Greg sees something, or Mike Cagle, or any of our people that are trained, if they see something, then they're going to call it to the attention of that inspector and try to work it through that first. If not, then I think we would probably get with Cindy Askew, who is our local soil and erosion state person.
Your district
Yes,
person?
absolutely. Okay. And see if they wouldn't intervene on our behalf. So far, it looks like they've put in their best practices that I've noticed so far. But you're correct, they're exempt, and we have no jurisdiction over what they're doing.
Well, I just really would like us to keep a real close eye on it because of the location where they're working.
Absolutely, especially with the bridges.
The bridges and downhill and into the creek. Okay. I have concern about that.
And I apologize about earlier. I got completely off the wrong page, sorry.
Any other questions or comments on that item?
Never happened.
I have a motion and second. All in favor? Is that unanimous for? Yeah. Council comments to public? And we've got some things to talk about in executive session. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Unanimous for? Session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous for. I believe we have no action to take tonight. Our city manager has direction on a couple things, and I think we're good to go. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move. Second.
That's Jake. Second. Questions or comments? All in favor? Unanimous for. We're adjourned.
We're adjourned.